everyone, welcome to another episode of the Fashion Grunge Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren.
And I'm Jai.
What's up, everybody? I'm going to say it at the top of the show. Like and subscribe, write us a review, help us get further up on the charts. I mean, we're probably at like number 5,000. Who the hell knows? But yeah, help us get up on the charts. Just write hi. It's a great show. And just write 5 stars. It's so quick. If you have Apple. Otherwise, Spotify, Google, all that fun stuff. Subscribe. Today, we're going to talk about Se7en.
Yeah.
By David Fincher. This is actually really weird because we're recording this at night, and usually I don't talk to Jai at night. We usually record in the afternoon.
I know, it's true. We never do, actually. But it's kind of fun to do a dark film at night.
Yeah, it totally is. It totally is.
And you just watched it, which is kind of,
Yeah, I just watched it. And I watched it on sunset, so it wasn't like too dark.
Whereas I watched it at 9 o'clock in the morning last week.
Oh, yeah, we were going to do this a few days ago.
Yeah.
So we're not behind schedule, but
Definitely not the kind of film that you should watch first thing in the morning. But in all fairness, it was pouring. It was like this, there was a storm.
Yeah, tropical storm.
It was a crazy storm, so it was kind of cool.
That's cool. That actually is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because it's raining throughout the entire film.
Yeah.
So, good parallel there. But I actually got that in there. So what have you been up to normally? You were just away for a bit, so that's cool. You got out of city for a while.
Just for a week, and did lots of reading. I actually read a whole book.
Oh, what'd you read?
James Baldwin.
Cool.
I forgot. Come on. Is it there? Yeah, it's The Fire Next Time.
Oh, cool.
It's so good. He's just such an amazing writer.
Yeah,
yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it is really, it's so now as well. It's so relevant. It's like crazy, he was he wrote this in the 60s and yeah, it's so sad because I feel like not much has changed in a weird way.
Mm-hmm. It has, but it hasn't.
It has, but it hasn't, exactly. Yeah, I just absolutely love him. The way he writes is so beautiful. It's not just the way he thinks, and I'm just really fascinated by his life. Like, he was one of many artists who were around that time in the 60s. Like, they were so disheartened by the US and just racism and
so much.
He moved to Paris. Well, no, actually not Paris, the south of France, somewhere in the south. But there were so many others, like Nina Simone lived in Paris, Miles Davis at some point moved to France. It's just like an amazing time to be there and be creative, and just, it was way cooler. I
feel like, yeah, that's so cool. I feel like the 60s has so many parallels with, I guess, I don't want to say this decade, but the last 5 years.
I agree.
So much change and so fast, and just all over the world. It's not just in the US. It's there's almost a bubbling revolution that is just building and warranted, totally valid. But it seems like a lot of that is kind of happening again. Hopefully not the immense violence. I mean, I hope it doesn't continue in the 60s when so many prominent people but
murdered,
assassinated, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
The decade of assassinations. 2 Kennedys.
Oh my God, it was. Yeah.
I believe Fred Hampton, I think, the Black Panther leader, was killed in the 60s as well. He was killed in 69. They're actually doing a film about that. Do you know about Fred Hampton?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're doing a film on that. And the guy, his name is Daniel, he's English, Daniel Kukulaya, the guy who was in Get Out.
Oh, yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah. And he was in that good Black Mirror.
He is so brilliant.
I believe Fred Hampton. And I think there's a trailer out. But yeah, that should be really good. I mean, it's high time that come out too. That more people know the story.
No, I think, anyway, so I read that. That was really cool. I felt very proud of myself for actually doing what I said I would, which is quite hard sometimes. But
no, it is. There are a few things that I haven't done that I said I was going to do.
And I listened to a lot of podcasts on like well-being and like psychology and stuff like that, which I love. But funny enough, it's the Goop podcast, which is by
Gwyneth.
Gwyneth, and who's actually in this movie. So
Yes.
yeah, who would have
It's crazy
thought?
that I'm not misogynistic at all, but I have zero notes about her. I mean, I have notes about her character, but I don't have many notes about her. She's not a very prominent. I mean, she is a prominent figure in the film, but not not to the extent of I'm trying to think of another person.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly feel I don't. I know she said some weird things, and like, and a lot of people are not like, fans of. I mean, I'm not a huge fan, to be honest. Like, I think she's a decent actress, but I have to say, like, what she does with Goop is like really great. It's like so cool.
She doesn't host everything, right?
No, she has a co-host, and
Oh,
it's
cool.
only she does some herself, and then this other woman. But it's not just a podcast. I mean, they have now. It's like she's really built an empire, because it's products, it's like skincare, it's clothing,
that weird vagina candle. I don't know what's going on.
Oh yeah, it's podcasts, and they now run this crazy retreat. So I think the last before COVID, obviously, they were doing like cruises, and it would be like, for example, 10 days, like a 10-day retreat on a cruise, and it will be all about like well-being talks, exercises, different different types of therapy, and like I just think it's a really cool concept,
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Have you seen the documentary trailer for the new Netflix film about wellness?
No, what is it called?
I'm literally looking it up right now because my friend sent me the trailer, and I think it comes out next month or this month. Hold on, I'm trying to find it. I don't know why I can't fucking find it, but it literally is about. Oh, it's called Unwell.
Oh, I did see the trailer actually just yesterday.
It talks about like what lives up, like what is actually proven, and like a lot of people are skeptical about it.
Yeah, I'll be watching that.
In general, yeah, I was gonna say I'll be watching it too because I'm skeptical about it as well. So I not that I'm skeptical, but I just think it's like a buzzword trend thing that just seems to be geared more towards affluent people. Like the things that are supposed to help you are kind of things that like are very out of reach for most people.
Well,
so it just seems like it's that way, but I'm sure this show will be pretty, illuminating. I'm sure they'll have something interesting there. But I guess that's who Gwyneth Paltrow is. I mean, like of course she's gonna speak to that kind of, I guess, type of person who has a lot of disposable income because she does, so she's gonna talk about stuff that she likes and stuff like
that. I mean that's true. Definitely
sense.
Yeah, definitely some of it. I mean, most of the stuff they sell, I mean, I couldn't afford that, but there's a market for it.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, she's definitely tapped into make that money.
Mm-hmm.
Make that money.
What about you? What were you up to?
Well, I've just been watching films for the podcast. Like the last two that you'll hear, I watched those, and then I watched this one, and then I'm looking into new ones, and just I don't know, podcasting's fun. And now I find new ones all the time. There's one called Zealot, which is really cool, and that's all about cults.
Oh.
Another thing, I'll have to send it to you. It's another thing that I'm not into. Oh, and there's a new HBO trailer that I saw yesterday that looks so fucking good. And it's about the NXIVM sex cult that got taken down, last year? One of the girls who was in it was in some TV show. So it was like a big deal because she was an actress. And she groomed the actors like to be in this cult.
Wow, I've never heard of it.
Oh, dude, it's fucking crazy. Okay, that actually comes out this month. It's called The Vow. Okay. It comes out on the 23rd on HBO.
Cool.
So that one looks really fucking crazy.
Yeah, I love cults. I mean, like, not like that. I mean, I love watching anything that's about cults. I just find it really interesting, not because I like them per se, but
yeah, no, yeah, I definitely don't to be in it or anything, but I don't think I could be susceptible to that kind of a thought, but I'm just extremely skeptical. So I don't know if I'm like in that mindset, even though a lot of my friends are kind of worried because I watch all this stuff about cults and they're like, you would be the one to join one.
I
I was
know
like,
that's
I wouldn't actually. I don't believe in a lot of things. So I definitely don't believe in one person telling me what to do.
no,
Definitely.
exactly. Yeah, Matthew jokes about like um me wanting to be in a cult. He always says, "Yeah, you know, you just can't wait to be in one." I'm like, no,
No.
that's come on, you know.
Yeah, like, honestly, I would never be in a cult, like, it's just not gonna happen, so but it's really interesting to find out about, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
But, yeah, let's get to the movie.
Yes, let's.
Directed Seven was came out in 1995, directed by David Fincher and written by Andrew Kevin Walker. And fun fact, the writer is actually the first guy in the murder scene when you open up. It's not one of the sins, but he's the guy that's killed in the very beginning. When you see Morgan Freeman or Somerset, we'll call them by their character names, Somerset, and you kind of see how he operates. He's very like methodical, and he's that guy. I think you probably see him for maybe like a second.
Yeah, yeah. I
Right.
don't actually remember what he looks like, but
Yeah, I think he's face down. I don't think you even see his face, but that's the writer of the film. I thought that was pretty cool. What are your first thoughts? When did you first see it?
I. It's funny because I actually do remember when I watched it. It's one of considering I was like 13. I remember the exact like evening, when I watched it. It was with my mom, her best friend, whose daughter was my best friend. So it was kind of like family, really. We're
Oh,
like, yeah. So it was the, our moms, my friend and I, and we were in the living room or whatever. And it was like we were 13, so we watched it when it came out in, when it came out a year later,
oh
I
yeah,
suppose.
Rent It.
Yeah,
Okay.
because we were 12 when it came out. So yeah, I want to say DVD, but it wouldn't be right a DVD back then.
No, yeah, I
No.
don't think so. I think it's tape.
Yeah, VHS or whatever. Yeah, and I remember because I think they wanted to watch it because they knew that Brad Pitt was in it as well. It's not like
It's so
our
raw.
moms didn't know, and also because there was such a hype already, like about his films and stuff. And
Yeah.
my friend and I love Brad Pitt, so we just sat there watching it. And I remember like half an hour, like 20 minutes in, both of our moms were like, "Oh, girls, like, why do you like watching stuff like this is too much," and they were like, "Oh no, I can't watch that, can't watch that, can't watch that." Like
Or, like, scenes, like,
any
certain.
gory scene, they would be like, "Oh no, I can't, I'm just gonna get popcorn." Or yeah, but I remember it was funny, it was just like girls watching it basically. and
Wow.
and yeah, I mean, by then I had seen Legends of the Fold, and Legends of the Fall or whatever. Is it called that? Yeah.
Legends of the Fall, yeah.
And then other films, California, and
Oh, yeah,
several
we gotta
Brad
do
Pitt
that one.
films. Yeah, we
Oh,
got to. So like I
stay tuned,
knew,
guys. We got a whole lot coming.
yes, and I knew Morgan Freeman from Shawshank Redemption as
Oh, yeah,
well.
yeah.
So I was like, this is so cool. I mean, what do you know? Like you're 13, but I really like the film. I mean, I always like dark films anyway. But yeah, I mean, I thought that, and I still do think it's pretty dark, disturbing,
Yeah.
really gory, but it's really original as well.
Mhm.
Like I love a great like psychological thriller.
Mhm.
Like I think like the dark is better, really. But I, you see like the same kind of in all films. You see kind of the same. It's about like, I don't know, women who get murdered for some reason. Always women,
Mhm.
and like
Yeah.
I feel like the story was just so great and original. So I really love that about. I mean, I love so many other aspects of the film, but it's quite rare, I think.
Yeah, no, it really is, especially for that time, I think, to have
Yeah,
I was just talking about it on Silence of the Lambs that I think the 90s is when, like, psychological thriller became a genre, that people
totally.
became interested in the psychology of why killers do what they do and the process behind police. A lot of police type of dramas and TV shows were really coming up, so we were really invested in how they solve crimes and, all the ins and outs.
Yeah.
That's It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, how old were you when you watched it? And like, do you
I
remember?
I was, I think, 16. I watched it, or maybe like 15 or 16. I watched it with my friend. We rented it. We watched it in her living room, and I remember just being like, "Wow, this is such a great story." Like it was just so good. I don't think I really thought about it like too deeply. It wasn't a film that I was like, "Oh shit, this has changed me and I want to go watch a bunch of films in this genre." It wasn't like that because I was definitely watching like way more, I guess, age appropriate films at the time. Like I was into Clueless and like Empire Records and like Dazed and Confused, like just way like not as dark. But this film definitely didn't make me, like really into dark stuff or anything. But I remember being like, oh, this is really cool, and I saw it before Fight Club. And of course, a lot of people also Fight Club directed by David Fincher, but obviously a lot of people Fight Club I think really changed. It obviously changed a lot of men. I was just listening to an interview with the author of Fight Club and like his inspiration and how he was speaking to, it's really interesting how he kind of brings that masculine almost like therapy and support group, which is doesn't really exist for men in a traditional way. So he was talking about how he kind of built that around Fight Club and that kind of thing. And then of course you can totally notice, I mean, one of David Fincher's amazing traits is just his color grading.
Yeah.
And it's just, you can totally see that he did Aliens 3 first, but it didn't do very well. I think it was 92. So this was the film that really, I mean, this was the film that kind of defined his aesthetic going forward and like throughout, even in Zodiac. I mean, all
Totally.
three of those, like Se7en, Fight Club, and Zodiac just have such a similar vibe and
They
feel.
do, yeah.
So you can tell this is definitely what he excels in, and also Mindhunter.
Mindhunter, that I was gonna say.
Yeah, another one, such a great show.
Yeah, and to be honest, like the credit, not that are similar to Sevens, but the credits in a way are very creative as well for Mindhunter.
Yeah, I wrote that down. Yeah, I love the credits.
Yeah, he obviously has an eye for detail that's like
insane.
Yeah, and also I love, I mean, we'll get to that, but he genuinely has done so many of my favorite films and shows. I mean, he's done so much. Like, just Mindhunter is literally one of my favorite shows,
And House of Cards, which I've not seen.
You never saw that? Oh.
No, because I think when it came out, I don't know when it came out. Was I living in LA? I don't know if I might have been living in LA. And I mean, not to be like glib about it, but I just wasn't really 2013. I was living in LA. I wasn't really into politics at that point because I just wasn't living in DC, so it just wasn't around, like my vibe at all. And also it was pretty like just wasn't like it is now. Obviously things are ratcheted up because of social media and like you just have news everywhere now.
Yeah.
But I guess I just wasn't really that. I was like, oh, politics, nah. Because like The West Wing, I'm not interested in. Like I'm not interested in a political show or Scandal or any of those other ones. So I was like, oh, this is going to be a political show. But now I'm kind of curious to watch it because I've just heard it's past, Kevin Spacey and all the drama of the show. It's a great fucking show. And
it was.
Fincher, yeah, I just saw that it was David Fincher.
I have to say, like, I watched it all and it was great, but the very last season was awful, like really terrible, because obviously because of Kevin Spacey, like they left, like he left or was asked to leave, fire, whatever, and I think it was really tough. I feel like almost they should have just ended it, but it was actually quite painful to watch. It was like a complete different show. It was really weird. Yeah. So, but anyway, I mean, it was pretty good, like pretty solid. Like, how many seasons were there? Like 6. Yeah. So pretty solid 5 seasons, I guess.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And then there was Gone Girl. It's really cool.
Oh, that's right.
Really good movie. And then the girl.
I always see it on TV, but I never want to watch it because I know it's edited. So I'm like, shit, I need to watch it unedited. I never want to watch it just on TV.
And then the girl with the dragon tattoo was really cool too. Social Network.
Oh yeah, that's right. I love Social Network.
Zodiac. And to be honest, I actually really like The Curious Case of Benjamin Button as well. And it's very different. But did you watch it?
No. I've seen bits of it, but I was like, nah.
I liked it.
Fincher though.
just because I've seen all his films, you kind of, and also I love Kate Blanchett. Like, I love her. She's amazing.
Yeah, I'm 50-50 on her. I have no like positive or negative thing about
Really,
her.
she's a great
Yeah,
actress. Do you not think
good.
so?
I mean, I don't think she's bad, but I don't really feel one way about her.
Okay.
I feel like she reminds me of like not like a low rent or like a B version, but like I prefer Tilda Swinton. But
Well, Tilda
I know
Swinton is
she's a
like a
different
queen.
actress.
Yeah, she's a total
But
queen.
I just there's something I saw I think with like either both of them or like some I don't know, maybe it's something I think they look very similar too. So I think they're just like very blonde and English but I know Tilda Swinton's like obviously like way weirder.
She
Like she's
is.
definitely way weirder. But
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know if I've seen anything with Kate Blanchett that I can even really recall. That like off the top of my head. I mean, I'm sure I have. I totally have, but I mean, I've seen Elizabeth.
Yeah.
I mean, she's great. She's not bad. I just kind of,
She's
whatever.
not bad, but
Oh
I'm
yeah,
like,
she's not bad. She's kind of like how I feel about like Julianne Moore.
what? She's
Yeah,
great.
okay. On the last podcast,
Oh, I know. I hear you say it. I was thinking we need to have a chat about this. What do you mean? She's a
yeah,
great actress. Come on.
Matthew McConaughey.
Oh God.
Yeah, I know he's got. It's really funny. Like we need to do like a giant group, some type of once we get like big money bucks and we have like a big studio. We just have like everybody who's on the show and we just have like a shit talking sesh about. I had talked to my friend actually like 2 weeks ago on the phone and I got into this huge diatribe of like who I don't fuck with like actors. And he was like, I should be taping this right now. This is a fucking episode. You're literally just talking all this smack. And I was like, but it's not personal. It's literally just about their acting work. So, for instance, I went on like a 10-minute diatribe about how I think Tobey Maguire is like so overrated and just whack. And he was like, "You think he's whack?" I was like, "I think he's very whack. I think Tobey Maguire is very whack. Like his movie choices are very whack.
They
Like
are. Yeah,
I
he's not.
don't think him, but
I almost feel like he is better than what he's done, but he just doesn't pick well.
yeah, that's the thing. Picking well
It's
is
a
part of
thing.
that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, back to the film. I have oh yeah, rented it with my friend. I also have because I just finished watching The Dark Knight. And I said there are a lot of similarities. I've been watching a lot of just films lately, but there are a lot of in between Love Island. And
Of course, Lauren, obviously,
I
yeah.
need a palate cleanser. I need to watch Love Island tonight because this film is just like, yeah, I can't go to bed with thinking about this. But um, there are a lot of similarities between the Joker and John Doe too, because just the kind of way that he it like preaches and the way he kind of tells society like, yo, this is what's going on, and like you guys are asleep and you guys are fucking lying to yourselves thinking that you're not these kind of people, but you totally are. And then I wrote 7 sins, 7 days, takes place in 7 days. And another interesting note, Michael Massey, I don't know how you say his name. He is the guy who's in the massage parlor booth,
Mm.
who they arrest.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah, that's right, yeah.
he's Fun Boy in The Crow, which
What?
is Michael Mass. Yeah.
No
Yeah.
way. Wow.
I remember seeing him and I was like, I know that face, but he had longer hair when I saw him before. And then he was in The Crow, which was the year before this, which is really interesting. But yeah, that's all I have for my first thoughts. Let's dive
Cool.
in.
Yes, let's.
Okay, so for behind the scenes, I have this was really shocking to me. Okay, the movie was made for 33 million, which is a ton of money.
So much. It doesn't
Um,
even look that it
oh,
was that huge of a production, but I guess it was.
I feel like most of it has to be in post.
Yeah.
And for like all the color grading and all the like weird shit that they did, and I'm sure just the whole tracking and like it's shot in downtown LA. Like if you live in LA, then you know those streets, but I'm sure they had to block lots of street. Like there are just lots of street scenes. Maybe that they spent money with that. The rain, like they had to have immense rain machines. I don't even know how much those cost, but I'm sure it's not cheap putting all that shit on the camera. Like I'm sure they used the money that way. And Brad Pitt, I'm sure got a lot. And same with Morgan
He
Freeman.
got paid 7 million.
Oh wow. Do you know about
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman?
No, I couldn't find that anywhere.
Did you find about Kevin Spacey?
Nope.
Wow, 7
But think
million.
about it. Brad Pitt got 7. Imagine how much Morgan Freeman got, because he was like
An Oscar
You know,
winner.
he's like Morgan Freeman, you know, like he must have got quite a lot, like for sure. And Kevin Spacey too. Who knows?
Yeah, did he have the no, he didn't have the Oscar for Usual Suspects yet. I don't think so.
I don't know when that one came
Came out
out.
the same year.
Oh,
So
it did. Okay.
yeah, he must not have gotten it yet. But yeah, maybe he got it for something before. Who knows? I don't think so. I think he did. American Beauty was after that. Another one we have to do because I fucking love that movie. But yeah, okay. Oh yeah, also made for 33 million, and it totally made 327.3, which is insane.
Insane. Yeah.
Back then for 95. I mean, that's
Yep.
global, but still, it's a lot. And I found it really kind of disturbing and surprising that this film spent 4 weeks at #1 on the US
Yeah,
box.
I know. I read that too. Isn't that
Scary.
crazy?
That's kind of shows the gross appetite of this kind of gory shit. You know, like this really like sick story. I can't imagine that. I mean, it is a really good film, but I feel like back then it just seemed like, whoa, this is fucking dark. Like I could see it making money 1 or 2 weeks, but not like a month.
Well,
Like
but I also think it's the cast. You know, I
that's
think it
true,
was
yeah.
such an epic cast that people were like, "It's got to be a great film." You know,
Yeah,
like
that's true. And it was the seventh highest grossing film of the year.
isn't it weird? Seven was the seventh highest. It was
Yeah.
like kind of funny. Yeah, I read that too. Yeah.
I have just a few notes about Brad Pitt's hand injury that he has in the film during the chase is real.
Yep.
And that was pretty crazy. And they hide it throughout the film, like because it's shot out of order. So they like certain times you don't see his hand, or he has like there's one fashion note that I just thought of it now, was that he has that really cool, like, is it herringbone blazer on
Yeah.
when he's sitting at the desk. That's really cool. I think it's because he has a cast on, like
He
under.
needed to have something baggy or not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really cool. And then yeah, and then I just have what else do I have? I have a few things, but I know that you have some too. Oh, and I have this is also another interesting note that all the notebooks in Doe's apartment were real.
And they cost a lot of money to make, right?
Yeah, like people made them and clipped all that stuff and wrote
Wow.
all that. Could you imagine if your job was to make these insane notebooks for like the prop department?
Well, I mean, I can actually because it's kind of like it's kind of like the way you had to do with sketchbooks. It's pretty much the same principle. It's like a sketchbook, but
Yeah,
with a lot of writing as well. But they were like kind of, I mean, the content wasn't, but they were really beautiful, like really
yeah,
cool, you know?
they are really cool.
Yeah, no, it was it like something like $15,000 it cost
Wow,
to make.
really?
Yeah, no, I know.
That's
I think
nuts.
it was two of them, and it cost 15,000 to make them.
Wow. What do you have for notes?
Okay, so some are the same as yours, which you already mentioned. That Brad Pitt said that one of the reasons why he wanted to take this role was because he wanted to escape the cheese after Legends of the Fall.
Yeah, I
'Cause,
heard that.
yeah, it's just really funny. I mean, I get it. You know, he didn't want to be known as just like that guy.
That's Rob.
And that Denzel Washington turned down the part that went for Brad Pitt because he
Oh,
thought, yeah, he was offered the part and he thought it was too dark and evil. And then once he saw the screening, he actually regretted not taking it.
then he did Training Day and won a fucking Oscar.
Oh yeah, Training Day was fucking cool.
Yeah, I didn't like it when I first saw it, but then when I saw it again, I was like, okay, this movie's fucking dope.
Really,
I'm
yeah.
not a big Denzel Washington fan. Like, I like him, but I'm not like that huge into him. I love Ethan Hawke though. And then when I saw it years later, I was like, okay, I get why he literally won the Oscar in the last like 5 minutes of the film. Because throughout it he was good, but when he ad-libbed that whole like King Kong ain't got shit on me, I run shit here, I was like, oh yeah, this is
Yeah,
awesome.
I like that film a lot actually.
Yeah.
And yeah, just the last one, which I thought was really interesting, that David Fincher and Brad Pitt wanted the head in the box scene in the film, but they were having a lot of issues with the studio because they didn't want that. They didn't want that to be the end, basically, and they wanted the wife to leave. What's her name?
Tracy?
Tracy, yeah, they didn't want that as the ending, basically, and they both put their foot down and said, "We're not gonna." Well, David Fincher, because he had already compromised in Alien 3, and obviously that didn't do very well, so he was like, "Never again, I'm compromising my vision," basically. And Brad Pitt also thought that was like a brilliant ending, and so he said, "If you change it, I will quit this project. Like, I don't want to be part of it." So they decided to keep the head in the box as, the end.
What were they gonna have instead?
Just the dog's head. They wanted just the dog's head, and then Tracy. Yeah,
the 2 dogs that they have.
And then Tracy was going to leave, which is a shitty ending. I mean, come on, because I feel like
divorce him.
Well, a huge part of the film success is the end. It's very different and it's cool. It's unexpected.
I can't imagine. It's like when you find out all these things about like casting. I heard also Al Pacino.
What? Really?
Was considered as well, I think, for Freeman. And I was like, all these films that you hear about who was supposed to be in the role, and you can't picture, like we did the same thing with Silence of the Lambs, and it was like Michelle Pfeiffer was supposed to be Jodie Foster's role, and she was like, no, it's too dark. And of course, when they see it back, they're like, fuck, but come on, that movie could not have been made without Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster.
Totally, yeah. I mean, she was incredible. I mean, both of them really, but yeah.
Like, what if Denzel Washington was playing the young detective, and then friggin' Al Pacino? 2 great actors, amazing. Even if it wasn't Spacey, it just would have been totally different,
It would have, yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. Well, that's all you have for behind the scenes?
Yeah, I mean, there's another one, but it's kind of lame. I mean,
what is it? Tell me.
David Fincher was really impressed with Gwyneth Paltrow because of I think it's called Flesh and Bone, which I never watched. And so she was the first choice for the role, but apparently she was not interested. So he had to ask Brad Pitt to ask her, because they were already dating at the time. So he actually convinced her.
Wait, so they were dating before the film?
Yeah, they were dating before, and so because she wasn't interested, David Fincher had to ask Brad Pitt to convince her because they were already together. So.
Oh, I mean, you can kind of tell. I figured either they met on the film or they were already dating.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. Yeah. She was in, what was she? I'm trying to think of like what she was in before this.
She was in, was it something Expectations? What is it called?
Oh, Great Expectations?
Yeah, that was. Really? Oh, maybe actually, yeah.
I'm gonna look it up.
I don't know Flesh and Bone. Actually, I don't remember that. Don't know what that is.
Yeah. No, what? That's so weird. Yeah, I know Shakespeare in Love was like the big one, but that was like 98.
And I'm sorry, but she did not deserve that Oscar. Come on.
She really didn't. I'm trying to think. Okay, our first TV credit is Shout, and she plays Rebecca in 91. So yeah, Flesh and Bone was 93. And then Se7en, it seems like it was her first big one. I guess people knew about it, but I've never heard of these other ones that she's in. Then after that, Great Expectations was 98.
Oh, 98. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, she like that late. Then there was like Mr. Ripley, and like, it just like kept going up, obviously, for her. But yeah, that's crazy. Oh, I have another note. I have let's see, Morgan Freeman when he's throwing that knife on the dartboard. Mm-hmm. They wanted to actually use the prop knife that they had and have him throw it, and it hit the dartboard with a wire, because it's almost impossible to throw that knife. And Morgan Freeman was like, no, I can do it. I don't need a prop. I don't need like any extra or like special help. So all that shit's real.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool.
And the long shots at the end, when you see them, which is one of my favorites, just like stills, when you see them through the binoculars of the helicopter, when you see all 3 of them, none of those are the actual actors. Those are all doubles, because at that point when they were filming, Spacey, Freeman, and Pitt had shot the maximum amount of days that they could for the project, and they'd already moved on, so they had to still film things, but like when they were done. And then also the scenes in the car when they're in the desert headed there, the scenes where they're in the city limits and they're driving out of the city limits was shot during Se7en, like during production time. And then the scenes where they actually get to the desert and that's where you see all the towers, that was shot after Brad Pitt did 12 Monkeys.
No way. Yeah. Really?
Kevin Spacey was also not in the very end when he's on his knees and I think Mills is pointing the gun at him and you see kind of a profile of John Doe. That's not Spacey, that's his double.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, a lot of things. That he came back to shoot like after 12 Monkeys, which is crazy, which he got an Oscar nomination for. It's another really good one. 12
It's
Monkeys.
such a good, we should do that one.
Yeah, that's on the list too.
Excellent.
We got so much. So that's all I have for behind the scenes. It's pretty crazy. And also David Fincher apparently is known for shooting things like multiple times, like hundreds of times.
Oh, he's one of those.
Yeah. He's like really anal. And apparently the scene where Brad Pitt actually cuts his hand open and like the blood is everywhere, like in reality, that scene wasn't even that take wasn't even used.
Oh.
When he actually took the injury, and he didn't tell anybody until after, and his like tendons were exposed and like it was really bad. And he did all that, I think, when he was running across the cars and he hit a windshield, but that wasn't even used in the film. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's crazy. But I mean, it pays off because all his work, his films, TV shows, everything are just genuinely amazing, and there's so much attention to detail. So, I mean, if he has to shoot a lot, that's fine, you know?
Totally. And obviously the actors don't mind because he's so great, you know, like his films are always so great. Okay, so now on to the plot and some story questions and notes that I have. The story opens up with a case, and we see that Somerset's like this veteran detective, and there's kind of a regular crime of passion that you kind of think happened, and you kind of see the difference between him as a detective and the other guy who works, who's like, oh, whatever, who cares about that? Why are you asking those questions? It's a done deal. They were shot. And you can kind of tell that Somerset's got more humanity and like just a bit more intelligence and attention to detail in general.
Well, more experience. Yeah, he's
more experienced. Yeah. Which is really interesting. And then you first meet Mills, and he fought to be reassigned to this city, which they never name throughout the entire film, but it could be New York or LA. It kind of has that vibe. And it's like this bad crime district. Like this is kind of set to be this horrible place, clearly. And then that's when the credits come in, which is cool that the credits don't start until like a bit throughout the film.
It is. Yeah, it's really cool.
I really like that. And then, it's just like Mills comes in. He's just arrived in town, and Somerset's about to retire. And then they get their first case, which ends up being the first sin, which is gluttony. And that one was just like, that one was really crazy. For that to be the first one, I was like, whoa.
It's so intense. I mean, that whole sequence in that house, it's just like too much. But
so gross. And then it's really interesting too how in the very beginning, like Somerset just doesn't trust Mills at all. He's like, yo, you're the rookie. They totally play on that whole veteran rookie cop relationship. He's like, go knock on doors. Like, I got this. Like, you don't know what you're doing. Like, just get out of here, call forensics in here. And it kind of is like Mills is trying to prove himself. He's really stubborn. You know, he wants to do what he wants to do, which you obviously see throughout. But it definitely plays up that whole like rookie vet cop relationship. Like, you know, almost like, I'm going to teach you, grasshopper. Like, just, you know, just be quiet and like roll with it, because it's, you know, it's a huge process.
Yeah, he's just like this sort of hot-headed, like detective, like really young, inexperienced, you know? Like,
yeah, like 5 years. I think he's like, I've done homicide for 5 years. I'm like, this is definitely not like any other homicide that you're going to be investigating. This is past a homicide. This is like next level. Then we get to the second sin, which is the criminal lawyer who's killed for greed. This is also the first time that we actually see a sin written out blatantly. Gluttony wasn't written anywhere visible in the last case. So this is kind of, they still haven't put it together that it's the 7 deadly sins, not yet. But then Somerset goes back because he's like, I'm going to retire. I'm not taking this case. This is going to end up being a big, long thing. And he's like, I don't think Mills should do it either. He's too inexperienced. He doesn't know what's going on. And Mills is like, no, fuck you. I got it. And he's like, no, this just says greed. He's doing the Se7en. Like, there's going to be more of these and I can't be involved. I'm like, Mills is like, no, I'll take it. And Somerset's like, no, I'm retiring. Like, at the end of the week, I'm out. Like, I can't deal with this. But then I love how he just naturally like gets into the fold, and it just like he just seamlessly starts working with him. And I love how that just happens and doesn't seem forced. They're just very like, they work really well together.
Yes, they do.
And everything. The lawyer one was like fucked. Like the lawyer one I thought was like really.
I didn't even think that one that was that bad.
Oh well, I mean, not compared to like what we see later, but I mean, like, I guess as the story goes, it's like that. It just seems so like, oh god, like it gets very political. Like the district attorney is involved. Like he does that press conference, and then it just kind of I don't know. It's just like really fucking weird, but like. In a weird way, obviously John Doe talks about it at the end, or he just is like, come on, like all of those were justified, especially this fucking lawyer. I know you guys were thanking me for that one because he's working against you because you guys are the prosecution side. But and then also we got to my favorite, which one of my favorite scenes is when you meet Detective Mills' wife, Tracy, who's Gwyneth Paltrow, and Somerset, and they all have lunch or dinner at their apartment.
Yeah, they have dinner at their apartment. Yeah.
It's really cool. And the subway train that like goes through.
Yeah, and I love seeing Brad Pitt playing with his dogs.
Well, I know.
He's just like so cute.
So cute. And I also noticed there's a lot of, I don't know if a lot of these are things that I'm sure, because it seems like David Fincher's like, he almost seems to me a lot like Vince Gilligan, who did Breaking Bad. Like every little thing means something. Like there are Easter eggs hidden throughout.
Yeah, I get that too.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Basketball, I see multiple times. Like Mills is watching basketball. He has basketball and hoops on his tie. And then at one point when he's in his apartment, he picks up the basketball and like puts it on a mantle. And I was like, basketball, is that like the head? Because a basketball is relatively the size of a head.
Maybe. I mean, I feel, yeah, you're right. I feel like everything means something.
Yeah, it has to, right? Like, it just seems kind of weird.
I think he likes playing with that sort of thing. Because didn't he name the characters in Fight Club after these guys?
Did he? No,
yeah.
That's a
book.
I mean, did he, like, Tyler? Who are you thinking in Fight Club?
Oh, maybe no.
No, it's a book. I mean, like, Tyler Durden is the name in the book. Is his name in the book. And the narrator has no name. Ed Norton has no name. Who else? Marla?
Well, no. Okay, never mind.
It's a different movie.
Makes a different movie. Never mind. Moving on.
And then we get the first kind of big clue when they ask the lawyer's wife to look at these crime scene photos and, tell us if anything is, out of place. So she looks and sees that this painting is flipped upside down, and then they go to the office and then they, rip it down and then uncover these prints, but then the prints spell out "help me."
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. I was like, oh my God, they have prints. Then they get the person who has the prints, which is this guy, Victor, who is,
oh God.
I think he's like, was convicted of like sex with a minor. He's like been in the system, like this guy Victor. So they're like, yeah, this is our suspect. All like SWAT's going. They're like, fuck yeah, we got him. And Somerset's like, this is not our guy. Our guy is way too meticulous for this. Like this is not. And there's only been 2 sins at this point. So he's like, no, this isn't it. So then, which is probably it's in my worst scenes. It's the man for Sloth.
Yeah, that's mine too.
Fucking shit. That scared me even until like now. It reminds me very much of, you know who or what also reminds me of? There's so many parallels. It reminds me of the last episode of the first season of True Detective when the guy has his dad on that bed. It's almost
Oh
the
yeah, that's right.
like
Yeah,
setup. I was like, this
it
is
was
just like True Detective.
pretty similar. I mean, I that was like for me the most disturbing and the worst scene. You know?
I have another disturbing scene, which I'll tell you when I get to it. It's not really a scene; it's just kind of like what happened. But I do like that they don't. One of the things I really like about the film that it does have these horrible like revelations, like when you find the victims. But I really like how you don't actually see the crimes being committed because that would
Yeah,
just.
I agree. That's too much. I don't think you can show that. I mean, you could, but then I don't want to watch that. You know,
Oh.
like.
And then when they talk about the third sin Sloth, when they kind of discover more about him, like he's been like that for a year, a whole
Start
year.
with that eating and
Starving.
tied up, and well, I don't think he was tied up. Wasn't he like
Yeah, he had restraints. Like
that?
on his
Okay.
legs, I think he had those like belts restraints that they have in hospitals.
Can you believe that that was an actual person? That wasn't
It was like
like
makeup.
it was. It took 14 hours to do his makeup
Oh my
for that scene, and that guy was I can't remember what's the name of the character?
Victor. That's the name of that guy. Victor.
The guy who's tied up in the bed?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Victor. Yeah, that's what I thought, but then I got confused with the other guy. Anyway, he was 96 pounds when they cast him for the film, and they kind of joked about like, oh, maybe you could lose a little bit more weight, and he lost 6 pounds more, so he was actually 90.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was special effects or like
Yeah.
maybe some
Totally.
kind of I don't know mannequin and
Like
whatever, but
animatronic or something, like a robot, that they can like make move.
yeah, but to be honest, if you think about it, Christian Bale was that thin for
Machinery.
yeah, it just you don't. I mean, you see a bit more skin on him, but this guy was like, the
God.
makeup was insane. Yeah.
And I not that I like, but it's really crazy to hear when they go to the hospital, like the fact that when the guy leans over him, the SWAT guy, and then he like coughs, I like lost
Oh
shit.
God, that scene.
Saw that, I
Oh
was like, oh my
God.
god. Like I was like, oh, this is fucking crazy. I was like, this is so ugh. And then they ask him, like, like, has he tried to communicate? Like, can we find out anything about him? Like, what the hell? Like, what's going on? And the guy's like, no. I mean, even if his brain wasn't complete mush, if you shined a flashlight in his eyes right now, he would die from shock. And I was like, oh.
Oh, that is just so like the trauma that man has
Yeah, but he's a good
suffered.
guy. He's like a pedophile. Like, I mean, he's not obviously like an innocent man
I
who.
know, but I still don't think anyone deserves that.
No.
I mean, it's just
Ugh.
this is the thing about the film, and this is why it's so disturbing because it does make you think. Even just as you watch it, you are trying to justify why someone would like kill another human being that way. And obviously, this guy, John Doe, explains why. But I like the fact that you actually do think about this.
Mhm.
Like I mean, I can't justify it, but I mean, I guess I wouldn't be surprised if some people were like, "Yeah, he totally deserves that,"
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, it's almost like not to get too like political, but it's almost like verging on the whole death penalty, capital punishment
Yeah,
conversation, whether or
totally.
not it's okay and whether or not it's justified or like who or some people believe it's not the right of. I kind of sort of don't believe in capital punishment. I think it's really fucked. Like,
Same. I
um,
don't.
it's very like medieval. Like we might as well be in like fucking Henry VIII. I mean, like what? Like I mean, it just seems very and
I
plus,
exactly. I feel like we've come a long way as a civilization up
yeah,
to from there. Like you can't. There is a like life sentence, being sentenced to prison for a whole year, but to go that way. I mean, who I feel like we're playing like gods.
Yeah, and lethal
Like
injection, like, I finally found
that as
out
well. Oh
it
god.
act I thought it was just a shot that, like, puts you to sleep, but no. It's, like, a series of 3 shots, and it's probably, like, the most inhumane thing, ever. I mean, it's fucking horrible, and I'm
Mm.
just like and also, not to mention the people who are innocent on death row. I mean, the people who are literally going to their last breath is like, "I didn't do it." And you're like killing me, and you're not
Yeah.
giving me a chance to redeem myself.
I mean, we simply shouldn't be allowed to do that. But I mean, not we shouldn't be, but they shouldn't. That law shouldn't exist, or it should be
No.
changed. But yeah, I mean, this is the thing. You do think a lot of.
Hey, we got cut off there for a second, but we're picking up back in the story where they've just discovered the third sin, which is sloth, and that guy was starving, and that was fucking crazy. And then after, Tracy calls Detective Somerset, and she kind of forms a kind of bond with him because he's the only other person that she knows in this town. And she's just very disillusioned with how crime ridden the city is. And she's a teacher, and she meets him at a diner, and she's kind of talking about, what if, like, like, I don't know about this city, like, I just imagine that it would be a lot different. I don't know about raising children. And then she tells Somerset that she's pregnant. She hasn't told Mills yet. And then Somerset tells the story about how he was with a woman a long time ago who was pregnant, and kind of tells his story and how they didn't have the child, and like, make sure you make this decision. And I really like that scene too.
Me too. It's quite
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah.
Like it just feels very genuine. I know.
Yeah, it really does. And just the way that she has this kind of like comfort in him, like, because it's very different from her husband, who's just like out all night, out at any time, because he's working. And it's just, yeah, I really like their relationship. And I like how she calls him, how she's like, I like how she just talks to him. She kind of feels instantly comfortable with him.
Yeah, he's kind of like a father figure. It's like kind of or a cool uncle or something like that,
And he just he's just so wise. I mean, in general, I just feel like it's just, you would ask Morgan Freeman himself.
I know. That's the thing. Like, I know, obviously, we don't know him personally, but I'm sure he's just like a great human, He's got to be.
Yeah, I mean, he just seems like
so
cool.
really kind.
Yeah.
And like lovely. Yeah.
Then we get to a really interesting thing, which is Somerset is like, okay, we've got to figure out who this guy is. Obviously, that was a wrong turn. Like, he obviously wanted to make it look like it was this guy, but it's not. So we're still looking for this guy. And he goes into library research and finding out what books he's checked out, because all of these have to do with certain books, like Dante's Inferno, and like some books by like the Marquis de Sade, and all these different things that he's like, no. And obviously this is almost I didn't have any 90s moments, but I guess this is one, is libraries.
Oh my god, that's in mine.
Is that? Yeah, I didn't have
I
one.
only have two, and it's basically like pre-computers and laptops, old school library research.
Yeah, which is really cool that he gets this guy to give him kind of under the table information on who's been, like checking out certain books, and then that's how you can get a handle on it. And Mills is just like so impatient. He's just like, I hate waiting for the thing. He hated waiting for the fingerprints. He hates waiting for this research. He's just kind of like super skeptical, like blah, like whatever. They find out it's this guy, John Doe, who's who's checked out this, it's kind of like rented, I guess, but he's checked out this certain book, and they go to this apartment that's listed. And this is probably like one of my favorite scenes, is like this whole chase that happens when John Doe's like at the end of that hallway.
Yes, that's one of mine too.
Yeah, and it's just like, I was like, oh god. And then also when there's like a huge chase, through apartments and down fire escapes and across streets, and this is where the injury happens, the real injury with Brad Pitt. But one thing I found really interesting is when John Doe is in kind of like a warehouse and he's running through. Yeah, it's the same exact limp that Virgil has in The Usual Suspects, played by Kevin Spacey.
Really?
So I wonder if this is an actual limp that he has, because it's literally the exact same. and it's in the same year too. They
I'm
both
sure
came
you
out in
can find
95.
it.
Yeah, I probably can, but I just wrote like same limp as Virgil / Spacey and Usual Suspects. He gets away, but he actually puts the gun to Mills' head because Mills falls down into this kind of like between a truck and a wall, and he literally is like gun to his head about to kill him, and I think Mills is like no, like he just says no, and then he just takes the gun away and then he just disappears.
Yeah,
And
I
then
mean that scene, that whole sequence is like it you kind of feel like it's going to end soon, but then it doesn't. It just keeps going.
yeah,
And then I quite like that it's not typical like Brad Pitt kind of sort of won or like got him, and it's the contrary, you know, like he's kind of begging for his life and he lets him get away, you know.
yeah.
It's cool.
It's really cool. And then they go back up to the hallway of the apartment. And it's another one of my favorite exchanges where he's like Mills is like, we're opening that fucking door of that apartment. Like, I don't care. Like, I've gone through all this shit. We know it's him and we just gotta fucking do it. And he's like, no, you can't. Like, if we bust in that door and we find something, this is going to make him walk. Like, we have no reason why we're here. We got illegal information, finding out the library information. You cannot do this. Like, come on, dude, you cannot do this. And Mills is like, boom, like high kicks into the
Yep.
apartment. And he's like, oh, well, looks like we got into a struggle. And then walks in, and then he just sees like, this is when you see the journals, like 2,000 journals that he has
It's
in no
insane.
particular order. Those like the glass cases that have the trophies, like the law books and the hand of the guy that he used to do the fingerprints. And
Yeah.
then you find a picture of this blonde woman who they don't know yet, and they're like, who is that? And also you find out in this situation that in, I believe it was uh I think it was the Sloth case, that there was a reporter that got past the line and took a photo of Mills because he was like yelling at him, and he was like, get out of here, man, you're behind the line, you know,
Hmm.
you stupid press, blah blah blah. And he's like, hey man, come on, I'm just trying to do my job. He sees that he has this dark room, and you know, the photos around, and he sees the photo of him, and he's like, we fucking had him.
Yeah.
Like, that was the guy. Like,
And
we fucking had him.
you wonder what would have happened if he, because I wonder if John Doe had the intention of killing them right there when he was taking pictures of them.
No,
Like,
I don't think so.
you
I
don't
have an
think so?
interesting theory
Okay.
that I wrote later on. I wrote because, I mean, the film moves pretty quickly after this sin. Like, the other ones kind of happen like one after another. But I have a note towards the end. I said, did Doe decide when he was the reporter to make Mills a sin because of
Yeah,
the
because of
reaction?
the way he reacted.
He
No,
was
I
like,
think that. I think that.
yeah, like very much like super aggressive, very, you know, like, get out of here, and like pushed him, you know, and he was very like, get out of here, blah blah blah. I was like, is that when he decided?
Yeah, I feel like he definitely decided then, but before that, he didn't know he would react that way. So I wonder what was the whole, like, that his whole thing was just going there to take photos, or why? You
I
know,
think
like,
maybe to find out who the detectives were on the case.
mm,
And I'm sure what happened, because then you find out that's when Mills is like, how did they get them here so fast? And he was like, they pay police for information.
yeah,
Like, that's what they do, and they pay well. So like, they'll tell him who's on the case. So I'm figuring that like he got information on Somerset, realized he had no family, and like that wasn't going to be anything. Like, that wasn't going to be enough. And then when he found out young guy, young wife, like, okay, like he's aggressive. He kind of paints that portrait of like aggressive law enforcement
yeah,
guy. So he kind of like, I'm assuming that that's the time
yeah,
he
which
kind of
is the
decided, or
perfect sort of
yeah,
scenario
like
for him,
Storm,
really.
yeah.
Yeah,
And then yeah, they find the 2,000 notebooks in the apartment, and then they're like reading the journals to discover his inner mind. I wrote, this is exactly what happens in Fight Club. And it's really interesting too, because Edward Norton in Fight Club is reading, you know, I am Jack's colon. I am like, he's like, look at all these notebooks. These are fucking everywhere. Like, and then he's like, I am, you know, and that carries throughout. So it's another same similarity in Fight Club too. I also love when they're in the apartment and they have all the cops around, and they find no fingerprints in the apartment.
yeah, which
And
is so weird.
insane, right? And then the phone rings, and they're like trying to search for the phone. He's like, get the phone, blah, blah, blah. And then he finds it and he's like, hey, you found me a little sooner than I thought. I didn't really think you were going to find me, but like, thanks. And, there's more coming soon, or whatever the fuck he says. And I was like, oh God, Jesus, it's going to be bad now. And he's like, I'm going to have to like ramp up my schedule because now I didn't think you were going to find me this fast. So like, there's more shit coming. So they're like, oh God. Then this is actually one that I find more disturbing than Sloth. I mean, I do find Sloth very disturbing, but I remember being really young, and this is when they find the blonde, because they're looking for the blonde in that picture, and then Somerset's like, they found the blonde. And they go to this really seedy, like underground massage parlor, and it says lust on the door. So this is sin 4. And this is like the prostitute, and that fucking dildo knife.
Oh God, that is true.
That was the worst.
That is worse. Yeah, you're right.
Just because you don't even like see it. You see a picture of it. Thank God that's it. And thank God they didn't go into any more detail, because as a woman, you definitely don't want to fucking hear about any of that. That one I found the most disturbing of the entire thing.
Yeah, so you're actually right. That one, the most disturbing.
Yeah. Ugh. And then it's like it's being ramped up now. So now he's like, I have to like keep this tight schedule because you guys are going to find if I have too much time between the crimes. Then that's when sin 5 is pride. And it's the woman who has he cut her nose off, and then she has like a phone in one hand and pills in the other, like call for help or die. Like,
I know.
That was fucking crazy. And then probably another one of the most amazing just the whole sequence of how this was shot. The film is obviously, we're going to talk about like the theme and mood, but super desaturated. And then you see that bright yellow taxi, and the way the camera's on the ground and the taxi pulls up, and then John Doe gets out and just like calmly walks in and just like gives himself up in this really fucking psycho way. And it's just like, you guys have been looking for me, blood everywhere, all over his hands. I'm assuming this is Gwyneth Paltrow's blood, right?
Well, it is, because I think
she's the last one. Because they said there's 3 bloods. They said there was an unidentified, right, which is Paltrow, and then, or Tracy, and then I think the prostitute and the woman with the who had the nose cut off. I think those were the other 2 probably. So he walks in and they're all like, "What the fuck?" Like, he literally just walked in and was like, "I think you're looking for me," and then they're all like, get down! Oh my God!
I feel like every single scene is just so great. Like everything,
It moves so fast. It's never boring. I feel like it just always keeps going on, and then it's just, you get to, his lawyer's trying to make a deal, which is, it seems like this happens in a lot of films and TV shows too, where they're like, oh yeah, they want death penalty off the table if they'll tell you where the other bodies are buried.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And if you say no, it's going to be public that you didn't care, that there were 2 other bodies that you could care less about, because you're going to, like, you just want to prosecute this guy or do whatever you want. So they're like, fine. He says, he'll show you the bodies, just 2 of you. So you guys have to go with him. And they're like, okay, fine. So they suit up and which is another one of my favorite scenes, is when they're like getting ready to put the wires on and stuff.
That is really cool.
I like that. I like the lighting too, like the really soft white fluorescent lighting.
I like the
in the bathroom.
Yeah, just that moment between them 2, the kind of like I feel like they finally come to an understanding. They're getting on and they like have the same goal. And I don't know, it just feels like 2 soldiers about just before they go on a battle or something. Yeah.
And then I really love the entire car. Like, what did you think about the whole ride from the city limits out to the desert?
That's in my favorite scene. I have 2 favorite scenes, and that's the first one basically. I like the fact that you finally have the 3 main characters all together, and they're in this car, like driving through the desert. And I love all the dialogue, especially between John Doe and Mills, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's he's still trying. I mean, I can't really remember everything that said, but he's asking him why, you know, like asking him also, when you're this crazy, do you actually stop and think to yourself like, oh, I'm actually crazy or whatever, you know? There is a lot of, he's trying to find out why he's done this.
Mm-hmm.
And that again is a moment when you ask yourself like, he's kind of, to a certain extent, he's right. Like he's basically saying my work, my piece of, this is like a piece of art, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like it is kind of a lesson for everyone to not do what they're doing, because, well, he's been caught, but the fact that he's done what he's done is kind of like sending a message out there, you know,
Yeah.
like to continue kind of like what he's done, like his work, so like for other killers to go out and do the same, you know, which is really dark and scary. It's like if that had happened in real life, like
Oh,
I
God.
have no doubts there will be people out there trying. It's the same with cults, right? When it ends, someone else tries to like continue it somewhere else, like
Mm-hmm.
continue the practice or whatever. It's the same. So I feel like uh, you're constantly thinking about this throughout the whole film, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I like that. I like that it makes you think, basically. But yeah, I love seeing all three together, basically.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but that's true that it's like they're all finally like in the same place, and this is the person they've been, chasing and like hunting the whole time. I have a little different notes here. I have here that Mill's emotions really feed him, and he has no
Hmm.
control, and he's kind of proving wrath even more in the car. He doesn't
Totally.
know that he is yet, but he's proving it. I have for one of my quotes that I have for the film because I have several. I in the beginning, I believe it's right before the reporter comes in and takes the photo, and or no, it's after because Mills is really upset and Somerset's very calm and Mills is like, what's up? And he's like, it's quite impressive to see a man feed off his
Oh,
emotions,
yeah.
and that's totally what Mills is all about.
Yeah,
And Somerset in the car is my favorite. I do like Mills a lot, but I love Somerset because he's always so composed and
he is.
he just knows like I love the way that Doe looks at Somerset like I know that you're not like this guy over here who's just like this young hothead. I know that like you kind of are on this like wavelength that like I can talk to you, and I really love that Somerset questions like his meanings for all this. He's like, if you're a child of God and you say you're doing God's work, then like what does all of this mean? Like how are you a martyr for this cause? And the one thing that I love about this whole movie is that John Doe actually asks Somerset, like, meaning what? Like he's
Mm,
confused and he knows that Somerset has caught him and is
yeah,
smarter than him and
he's
totally
smarter. Yeah,
knows. And it's the only time he questions anything because everything else is direct order, direct plan, direct sermon. It's like, I know what I'm doing. You're listening to me. And in that way, Somerset is just like, no, I'm questioning you. Like, and then that's when he says, like, when did, you want to know when I decided to turn the sins against the sinners, like just use their own crimes against them essentially.
yeah. Like he does not like being kind of put on the spot and to like to question him because he doesn't have all the answers. I feel like to this point he's like the smartest, and he's definitely smarter than Mills.
Yeah.
Mills is just all about emotions. It's true, and yeah, you're right. I definitely do like that about Morgan Freeman's character. He's just so calm, so composed, and I feel like when they're on like in the car at this point, he kind of, I wonder if he knows. He kind of, I almost sense that he has a bad feeling that Mills, that this is not going to end up well. That
Yeah,
there is a
I
trick
think
to all of
so.
this. Why the Joan Doe wanted them to take him, right? And
Yeah.
like it all is to like Mills can't tell because generally he's not that smart. But
No.
I think Morgan Freeman is thinking that this is not going to end up well. Like I
Yeah.
don't know exactly what's going to happen, but yeah.
And especially when Mills is like, yeah, we were going to find you. We were going to hunt you. And John Doe is just like, oh, really? Like, what piece of evidence did you have that you were going to find me before I walked into that
Yeah,
precinct
yeah.
and fucking turned myself in? Like, yeah, fucking right. You were not that close to finding me. Like, you found me and I got away and I literally didn't kill you when I could
And
have.
and he really got to him because at the end, that
Yeah.
he's genuinely really fucking upset by something he said. I can't remember what it was, but it really got to him. It got to Mills, whatever John Doe said, you know?
He said, and then yeah, after we get there, they get to this location and that delivery van pulls up and I was like, oh my God, shit's about to fucking get real. And then the guy delivers like, I just got $500 to deliver this box. This guy told me to bring it out here at this time. Like, I don't know. And so Somerset's like, okay, I'm gonna check this out. Mills is over like several hundred feet away with John Doe. And I said, like, usually the cops said, like, call in the bomb squad, but I was also surprised, why did they not wait for the bomb squad?
I know,
Because like you really don't know what was in that.
no, and it totally could have been like a bomb to kill
Yeah.
people. And so, like, because he knew he was gonna go to jail or just, so why not just kill everyone?
Yeah. That's the only kind of question that I had that didn't make sense. Like,
It
if they
didn't.
weren't going to if they called for the bomb squad, which the guys in the helicopter did, why did Somerset not wait? Because he was just like, I'm opening the box, and nobody on the radio said like, no, don't open the box. We have to wait for the bomb squad. Like, he was like, no, I'm opening it. I was like, why would you just open it? Like, you're a cop. Like,
I
you would
know.
open the box. But in any case, I also love that you never see what's in the box,
Me too.
and he just has this like when he sees it.
Because you don't need to see it. It's kind of, already at this point. It's weird how you know, because rewatching it the other night, I was like, the other morning actually, I was like, I don't know, because obviously now I've seen it so many times that I know it's the head, but has the people watching it for the first time know that
No,
it's the head?
no, because I think it's I feel like that whole end of the film is super shocking. I don't think you see it coming at all. I didn't anyway.
So
Yeah.
is it said? Is it mentioned that it's a head?
Yeah, because what happens
Right.
is
Morgan Freeman calls the.
he calls and it's like he's got the upper hand now. Like, Mills, don't do it. And he has the gun. He's like, what's in the box? What's in the box? And then like Doe is talking to Mills, but Mills is like looking at Somerset and he's trying to get his attention. And he's like, I don't like, like I went to like see, like I wanted to see what like a real man's life was, like a simple man,
Oh,
a plain
God.
man. So I like went to your house and I, like Tracy, and then he turns and he's like, what'd you say? What'd you fucking say?
Oh my God.
And then like when he says her name and he's like, yeah, I tried to play husband. It didn't work out too
God,
well.
that's
And that's when he says
awful.
like, I took a souvenir, and then he's like, her pretty head. And then that's when he sees Somerset walking up and he's like, what? He's like, what the fuck are you saying? He's like, what's in the box? What's in the box? And that's when he like starts screaming like, what's in the box?
It's so intense.
And he never tells him. He just says like, like, no, dude, like you can't do this. Like, put the gun down. Like, you can't do this. And then he's like, and that's when he says like, she begged for her life and the life of the child growing inside her.
It
And
could not get worse. Literally
that's
could not
what did
get
it.
worse.
And then probably like it's the worst thing ever, but probably one of the most genius parts of just acting is when he looks at Somerset and he's like, he didn't know. Oh, he didn't know. Like he knew that Somerset knew. Like somehow he knew that he knew. And then
also,
Mills knew too. He looks kind of like, oh my God, I'm the one who didn't know.
Yeah.
Because that's why Somerset was like, so like, no, put it down. Like, now what has Mills got to live for? I mean,
I know. And also you don't really know. I love how ambiguous it is, because you don't know if he's gonna, like, if he's lost his mind because of the shock, if what he's gonna do now, right? Like is he I just feel like it's heartbreaking.
yeah.
But I also think it's like throughout the whole film, this is when you see Brad Pitt at his finest. In that last scene,
totally.
he's so amazing. Like throughout the whole film, he just comes across as like this dumb detective, like young and inexperienced. And his acting is not like that great. It's like average, right?
Yeah.
But at the end, he's just like, I can't imagine the only other actor that I can see playing that really well is like Leo, really, because he can do that. He has that ability to kind of.
Very Romeo and Juliet. That very like the desert in Romeo and Juliet, where he's like,
Yeah, totally.
it's very much like that vibe, like extreme sadness, rage,
Yeah,
like
really, everything. Yeah,
all together. Yeah.
I feel like I really love how he's acting in it. It's like
Yeah,
incredible.
it is super good. And then I have Sin 6 Envy, and then it says like, and then Doe just says like, because I envy your life, I am envy, and because I want what you have, and I can never have what you have, and have this like normal life. And then he just says, and this is in one of my favorite quotes, and he's like, become vengeance, David, become wrath. And then
Mm.
that's when that's when he shoots him, and he has like, and then he shoots him like almost the whole clip, I think.
Yeah,
It's like,
I don't know how many times, but it's like 5 times.
yeah, it's like the whole. I was like, good God! And then of course, like the cops come, and then Somerset's like anything he needs, like, and the lieutenant's like, we'll take care of him, like it's okay, and you just see him being carted off.
And the thing is, like, even at this point, you're like, if that had been me, I think you would have done the same. I mean,
Yeah, totally.
I genuinely think I would have done the same. You have a gun on your hand, and you're not gonna shoot this fucking guy who basically destroyed your life.
Yeah,
like
totally.
so.
So yeah, that's like a pretty crazy rundown. Yeah, what do you have? And then I have like a few notes here for just theme and mood. The cinematographer's name is Darius Khondji.
It's amazing.
He also did Stealing Beauty, another movie that's on the list by Brooke.
Yeah, he's done some really incredible films. I really love, well, in terms of like the editing stuff, like Evita, he did that.
Mhm.
He did. There was a film that's like really like, Midnight in Paris.
Oh yeah, I haven't finished that.
Yeah, I actually really like that film. He did Okja, which
Oh
is
yeah,
really cool.
yeah.
And the latest one actually that I didn't realize he had done is Uncut Gems.
Oh, the Adam Sandler one.
It's so intense. Oh my god.
I hate Adam Sandler, so I've never watched
It's
that
fucking
film.
brilliant. From beginning to end, it's a really good film.
Oh, okay.
But it's really intense. Yeah, it's a serious film.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
He's a Julia Roberts for me. Actually, a little less than Julia Roberts, because a little more actually, because Julia Roberts, I have been like caught watching a film where I'm like I watched Ocean's 11 the other day for the first time, and I was like, ugh, she's so bad. I was like, why does anyone like her? And then Adam Sandler, I think he's always like the star, so I just don't watch stuff with him. But I've seen a few things, but
no, you should totally watch it. Yeah, I mean
what do you have for cinematography? What notes do you have? Then I'll do mine. I feel like I talked too much.
Oh no, like not at all. I just love the cinematography. I feel like it really like it really translates with like the how, like, I mean, don't know that it's LA, but you kind of think it's New York.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't know. I thought for some reason that it was New York. It's kind of dirty, like rainy, sketchy, like.
The one giveaway when you can tell streets in New York and in LA is the width of the street.
Totally. Yeah, really wide. Yeah.
And how bright the like sun is, because in New York, when you see them film in downtown LA, you're like, that's not New York. They also try to do that in Dark Knight. That was in Chicago, but they like kind of try to make it look like New York, but New York is like very narrow streets. The sun just hits different, but it's easier to film, I'm sure. Like you have more room and everything.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just I really love that about it. I mean, fashion-wise, it's not really much to say because it's just very, very kind of simple, boring detective sort of.
Yeah, I wrote Somerset, typical detective. Trent.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. I have boring, straight leg, baggy suits, awful ties.
Oh, I have basketballs on his tie on Mills.
Yeah, they're like silly ties. I feel like, and then. The only outfit that you see that's kind of 90s, I suppose, that you really think, okay, this is 90s, is like Gwyneth Paltrow's, like Tracy's outfit. It's very 90s.
Yeah, it's very her too. That minimal 90s vibe.
Totally. And like her hair I think she's wearing like a midi skirt, but also this sort of short sleeve top that's sheer with like a vest underneath or something. It's super 90s. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's it for fashion, really.
I have okay for my cinematography notes, I guess, because I want to make a film. So I'm always like, oh my god, like how would I do this? I just wrote Fincher's color grading. I love his color grading. Always Raining. I really like Mill's apartment too. I love like the details in his apartment. I love
It's cool.
the record player. I love that fucking fireplace.
Yeah.
We went really deep into on the previous episode, the crush on like at least Charles in general. He went really deep on like 90s real estate and how cheap the price was, and like how he was like, God, could you imagine what that guest house probably cost to rent in the 90s? It's probably like $400. I was like, no, it's probably like 200. He was like, oh God, like just like I was like, yeah. So that's another thing. What the fucking rent must have been in this shit ass city for this really nice apartment that has a subway running through it. But it was amazing, huge apartment, like tons of rooms. I love the way that I don't love the way, but I just wrote the way the sins are set up and staged for an audience. They're very much like it just seems very much like theater.
It is totally. Yeah.
I like that. I really like the squad room. I really like squad rooms in general in cop films. I love like the fluorescent lighting that looks really shitty, and it just I love like when they're really light squad rooms, and then when they're really dark ones. This one's a really light one. A lot of them are usually really dark. One of my favorite stills is when Mills is during the chase and he's on the ground in the water or in like the pool, and you see the reflection upside down of the hat of Joe coming towards him.
It's really old school that. Like, yeah, I like that.
I love that one. I did the shot following the taxi as John Doe lets himself in. The only bright color in the film is the yellow taxi and red throughout. They're red bulbs, there's red blood, everything else is desaturated.
Yeah.
Which I like. I really like the shot of through the binoculars in the helicopter. Yeah. I like how you could see that it was a binocular. That was cool. And then I have the still of Mills at the end, the orange sunset, his eyes just totally welling up right before he becomes Wrath. And then and another Fight Club nod is that flash of Gwyneth really quick, which is also in Fight Club when you see like penis like in those films that he splices. It's another Fight Club thing, like quick cut in there. And then like I love that scene. We were talking about his acting is just incredible in that. But I love that picture, like just him there and the lighting and how it's orange, and I just love it.
That is really cool.
It's really great.
You know, for me, I think I guess it's more of like a set design in a way, but I love Joan Doe's apartment because there's so much going on. Like there's so many objects. It's very dark. There's this like red. I think it's like red cross.
Yeah,
and
the
like
cross.
Yeah, and I mean to set that up, you know,
like, has to be a lot of the money has to be used on stuff like that.
Props but the attention to detail, it does really look. I've been to apartments that look like that, full of clutter, but in a crazy way of like not even trying. It's just simply someone is lived there for like 70 years and they never moved anything, and they just accumulated all this stuff everywhere, you know. And I feel like it just looks so real. It's like really run down building, and the actual apartment itself. I just feel like I just really appreciate and love attention to detail to that level.
Yeah,
you know?
I really like it too. For music, I have score by Howard Shore, who also did Silence of the Lambs.
So dark.
I love that 9 Inch Nails remix during the credits.
Yeah, that's cool. That was really cool.
Even in the Prostitution Club, it's like industrial. It's very like industrial music, which was big then, or like kind of coming into its own. I have one Brad Pitt swoony outfit is when he has that gray pullover at dinner.
That is cool. That's very nice.
He looked great. Let's that's all I have for fashion. So what are your favorite scenes? I think we probably already talked about them. We can just list them again.
I mean, I talk about that one in the car, the three of them driving through the desert, and the chase. Because I feel like it's a never-ending chase. I feel like you kind of think he's not gonna catch him, and then it just continues, and I feel like there's just so much going on, like running through the apartment, and then it's not really jumping out the window, but there is that, what are those called, those fire
Oh, fire escapes.
escape staircase or
The ladder.
ladder or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like it looks so real, like Brad Pitt actually did it, like
I think it's good.
he's like, and I just felt like, well, this does not look safe for any actor, but
No.
hey.
$7 million, I'd fucking do it.
Well, yeah. And I just really like that chase, and I love the fact that it didn't end with like basically Joan Doe just getting away and Brad Pitt is like, okay, I didn't find him, or getting to him and like whatever, you know. I feel like it was really cool. That's what I mean. Like, it's just very unexpected that you don't think Joan Doe is actually gonna be pointing a fucking gun at his head and like allowing him to live, basically.
Yeah, it's really crazy.
Cool. Yeah.
Mine is like, when Somerset has dinner with Mills and Tracy. This is one of mine. I just love their relationship together. The chase that you mentioned, and then the scene of Mills and Somerset putting the wires on for transport. I like that a lot. I like that whole scene where, like, you were talking about, like, they were like soldiers.
Yeah.
I didn't think of it that way. My worst scenes where I mentioned the prostitute murder scene, just that whole situation. That was just the worst. And then
well, as a woman, it's really
yeah, definitely. And then the sloth discovery, that was the worst.
Yeah, that's one of mine, and for me, it's the end with the head in the box, because I feel like it's so traumatic. Like, just, I mean, it's not that you see anything gory happening, but it's, you know, what's happened, you know, to get to that point. So those are my worst scenes. Do you have favorite lines?
Yes, I have quotes. Do you?
Yes, I have 3.
Okay, what are yours?
The first one is, you're not Messiah, you're a movie of the week, you're a fucking t-shirt at best. I just really like that. Yeah.
One of them I said already, it's impressive to see a man feed off his emotions.
Yeah.
When Somerset says that to Mills.
Yeah, that's cool. My second one is the Ernest Hemingway, like, the world is a fine place and worth fighting for. I agree with the second part.
Yeah.
I just like that. I think it's sad, but it's kind of true.
Yeah, no, it's true. Let's see. I have, just because the fucker's got a library card doesn't mean he's Yoda.
I like that. Yeah, that's cool.
I like that one. What's your other one?
My last one is, it's a long one. If we catch Joan Doe and he turns out to be the devil, I mean, if he's Satan himself, that might live up to our expectations. But he's not the devil. He's just a man.
Oh, that is good.
It's so deep, and it's
That part of that might be the name of the episode. It was going to be like What's in the Box, which it might probably end up being What's in the Box, because it's just short and you know what that is. Yeah. But I like that, like, but he's just a man, or whatever you just said. I have to like copy it down to find out.
I really like that. Yeah.
And then I have 3 more. I have, like, this isn't going to have a happy ending. It's not possible. Mm-hmm. Like Somerset says that. And then I like when they're in the car, and then John Doe says to Mills, like, I seem to remember breaking your face.
Yeah.
I like that. And then
cool.
The last one I which also might be the title for the episode. I like become vengeance, David, become wrath. Like, I like that.
Yeah, that is cool. That would be a cool name.
Yeah. 90s moments. I guess I just talked about the library, but that was it. What were yours?
Yeah, that was one, and the other one is just film photography and Joan Doe's Red Room, you know, because, I mean, that's not really per se 90s, but I suppose after that you had, like, that's when digital really sort of no, but you know, like, I feel that was, to me, there's not many 90s things, I don't think so. Like,
no, yeah, it's not super 90s heavy. It's just very like in the moment. Like, it could have happened now. It's just more about the story, I guess.
Totally.
It's not as like pitchy as some of the other films that we review. But yeah, man, we've reached the end of Se7en. So I enjoyed this rewatch. I actually own this on DVD. I don't even know the fuck why, but I do. So yeah, I really like it. It's one of my favorites. Got me into Fincher.
Yeah.
unknowingly. Yeah, I don't think I realized, but
I know, me neither. I don't think I realized, and then I was like, wait, of course he's done all of these great films. I mean, this is definitely like one of my favorite films.
yeah, same. It's up there. It's in like the top 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely up there. But yeah, this has been another great episode. Like and subscribe if you've gotten to the end here. So yeah, we will see you on the next one.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Bye. Good night.
Good night. Bye.
Bye.